I'm Adam from Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Longbox Edition, a podcast member of the GonnaGeek network, just like the one you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
This is it. The part of your week where you get to put your headphones on, relax, and listen to a bunch of geeks geek out about geeky things. They're passionate.
Did you know Magic Mike XXL is actually on the top 25 list of this year's best movie?
They're witty.
He loves him some Katy Perry because she kissed a girl and she liked it.
They're crazy.
I like Nickelback personally, but, I'm the fuddy-duddy who likes episode 1.
And sometimes they leave you wondering, what the f***?
I'm pretty sure that here we were starting the hashtag movement, bring back Slave Feral.
Welcome to the GonnaGeek.com podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 134 of the official GonnaGeek.com podcast. My name is Steven John Drew. Please clap. And with me today is Chris Farrell.
Don't clap for me.
We also have the one and only Stargate Pioneer.
Hey, how's it going this week, guys?
And rounding us off, the most important of us all, we have we have JS with us.
Don't catch the clap. It's not good.
How's everybody's weeks going?
Not bad. It's the first day of the week.
Which is always funny because this is released at the end of the work week, so will be like, "Oh, why you got to remind me it's Monday in 3 days?"
We're here to help.
It's either Monday or it's 7 days or less till Monday. It just comes around no matter how much you want to stop it. It happens every week. Just get over it. Just go through it, and then the rest of the week will happen.
That's true. That's true. A wise man once told me that the ultimate downside of the week going faster. No, I was just stealing JS's quote from a few weeks ago. All right. Well, we got a very packed schedule tonight. A lot of mystery going on. So let's go ahead and just roll into the news. Shall we do that?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Alrighty, so we are deciding to do our news, I think, in twos today. We've got a couple of Facebook-related news points, and then we also have a couple of space-related points. So I will start us off here, and today I am going to be talking about an update to the Facebook Messenger. You may have heard of this being teased in recently, and what it was that apparently Facebook wanted to start supporting multiple accounts on the Facebook Messenger platform. So why is that important? Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, a lot of people have multiple people using the device. So that's kind of nice to offer that support. But the weird thing about it is that Facebook has been so anti-multiple accounts for a while. So this is something that they've integrated now. Some people have the update, some don't have it. And essentially the way that it works is when you go into Facebook Messenger and it's just the Messenger, not the actual app, you are able to go and add multiple accounts. And when you're in the other account, while you can see whether or not there's messages there, it won't actually show you the message until you enter your PIN code. So that's one of the interesting changes that came out with Facebook this week. Let's start talking about that first. SP, I know that you yourself have multiple family members in the house. You've got some tablets being used. Would you ever put the multiple accounts on the Facebook Messenger?
No, everybody's got their own device, so there's no need to access Facebook Messenger for us anyway, for a shared device. And everybody's got their own phones, everybody's got their own computers, tablets, whatever. Not everybody has all of those, but everybody has their own devices to use. So no, we wouldn't use it.
Okay, so how about you, Chris? What do you have any appeal to this here?
I give literally zero craps about that. It matters not to me. I have one Facebook account and there's no other people using my devices, so it's not really something I would do.
So literally zero craps. There are no more craps to
zero
give.
craps.
Okay.
Yes, there were never any to give.
The foxtrot wasn't given.
So here's the thing that I find interesting about it, because contrary to what Facebook wants, SP, you represent Facebook now. Facebook doesn't really want people to have multiple accounts, but people do. People have ones for their work. They have ones for other things. So there are people who have multiple accounts. I find it really, really interesting that they chose to do it on the Messenger platform, but not the actual main app. And that's why I put this news in here, because it's odd that that's where they drew the line.
You mean the snooze? That's what this is.
I don't know. To me, it's mind blowing that they would do one over the other.
They're probably going to do both.
They must have had some sort of requirement for it. Maybe somebody within the Facebook community themselves, maybe Mark and his wife were on the same device. I can't use this, whatever. I couldn't see them having to share a device either. When you make a couple $1 billion every year, you can't afford to.
They gave it away. So
yeah, they gave all of it away. Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I actually personally would like to see them do the Facebook type thing. The Facebook app itself have split accounts, because then I'll just get one phone for my wife and I to share, because that'll totally happen, right?
Next thing you know, you'll just get that shared Facebook account that a lot of these couples have.
No, that will not
Stephen
happen.
And Stephen's wife, John Drew, will be the name.
It's the
It'll be.
Why? Why would you do a joint Facebook account, even if you're married?
Because you don't trust your wife or husband to not cheat on you.
It's so your wife can keep your balls in her purse, basically. That's all it is.
Do you know how horrified she would be if she ended up opening up my account and seeing the pictures that you guys have sent me? She would vomit.
The dick pics?
Exactly.
I think JS sends them to her first.
JS just blew it out of the water.
He did. But that's the first update of the Facebook Messenger. Chris has another interesting Facebook Messenger point. What do you got, Chris?
So this story might be a little more scandalous. Facebook, they want to put ads in Messenger now, and it's not quite in the way you're thinking. So how did this come about? There was a leaked Facebook document that was sent to some of its biggest advertisers that revealed Facebook's going to launch ads within Messenger in Q2 2016. TechCrunch was able to get a copy of that document and shared all the details online. Basically, what is going to happen here is the document told companies to prepare for this to come, and how it's going to work is they won't be able just to spam you randomly, and there won't be pop-up ads popping up Messenger. No, it's a bit more, I want to say nefarious, but if you have ever messaged a brand on Facebook, they can now message you spam whenever they want. Is how it's going to work. But if you've never messaged a brand, they cannot send you anything. But here's where things get shady. A lot of companies are now saying, hey, you have questions or you want tech support on this, message us on Facebook, and then we can send you spam when this starts. So to me, this sounds pretty daggum shady to me. Here's the thing. Facebook has made no comment as to whether this is what is truly going to happen or not, but it's an official Facebook memo, I guess, that TechCrunch got a hold of. And it just makes me sit here and go, are you serious? Are you serious? I'm just going to disable my Facebook Messenger, or I'm going to start blocking people, and it's dumb.
I think that from the owner of the GonnaGeek.com site, I think that this is a phenomenal change to the Messenger platform. And no, I think that it's horrible. I think that it's horrible if this is actually going to execute the way that it sounds.
So you're going to make people mad within minutes of this happening, because you know they're not going to have any self-control when it comes to messaging someone. Say you've messaged the A&E channel at one point in time to complain about something. You're going to get, hey, Walking Dead starts tonight, come up on Facebook Messenger, and then, hey, Better Call Saul's on tonight. Make sure you watch Talking Saul afterwards. And you're like, what the hell? How the hell is this happening? And it's going to be because you started the communication with them, and now they're just going to blast you back in return.
Let's hold on here a minute. This is the most important thing, though. No, apparently The Walking Dead is now on A&E. What?
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out.
Sorry, I meant to say AMC.
A&E? What? They were on AMC. Why are they on A&E now?
Sorry, guys. I have Better Call Saul on the brain because it's on tonight, and I'm really looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, interesting. You're
probably gonna have an opt-out option. It's probably gonna be hidden within the settings, like really deep
Not
in the
at
settings.
first. They're gonna wait for the complaints to roll in because they want to use this to make money. Let's face it. Facebook is about making money.
For sure.
So,
And then
so
it
that
will-
Mark can give away the money later, right?
Well, and the interesting thing, you go back to 2012 and Zuckerberg had done some interviews and said, hey, if advertising is not the only way to make money, there's better ways to do it. And then you see them kind of jam it into Messenger in a way that's just super uncomfortable. I don't know about you guys. When I want to go and get support on something or complain about something to a brand, I'm going to stick to Twitter because the worst they can do is @reply me, and then I can block them or I can mute them.
Or retweet their tweet, which is like horribly not customer service friendly.
I was gonna say it's super strange because if you message somebody, this seems like a fairly recent addition. I might be wrong, but it's been a while since I've messaged somebody who's not a friend, who I haven't friended on Facebook. So and I just noticed it happened to me as well. So somebody I didn't have as a friend messaged me on Facebook, and it's got a different pop-up. I don't know if you guys ever noticed this. It'll ask you to accept to read the message. It's really strange.
That's
so
interesting.
the message it'll pop up, but it'll ask, do you accept the message interaction between this person?
Someone was just telling me about this. Yeah, and I haven't encountered it yet. So it's interesting you brought that up.
Yeah, it happened to me a couple days ago.
You friend everybody that comes up to you.
I do.
That's
But the
possible.
difference
But,
between what
yeah,
JS is describing and what's going on here, though, is you've already initiated the conversation with this brand at a time in the past. So the door is already open and you can't shut it. Whereas this is someone knocking on your door wanting to talk to you. And you can ignore then.
See, if I'm going to complain to a company, I'm going to do it on Reddit because that's where I should be, right, JS?
yeah, Reddit's a good place to complain, man. You'd be surprised. It's a really good place to complain.
So's Twitter, surprisingly. It got me a deal on Comcast Cable 2 years ago when I was about to leave.
But do you think that's still... Is Twitter... It feels like people now know that Twitter's the place to complain.
Yeah, but people still listen. That's the thing.
Do they? Okay, that's good.
Yeah, if you've been done wrong and you complain about it on Twitter and you've got enough followers, it takes off and it's ridiculous. And the power of the people comes into play. And these companies are like, oh crap, we got to shut them up real quick. Give them something they want. So it's not necessarily them trying to do the right thing. It's just them trying to get a hold of or rather a handle on the PR storm coming their way.
See, Chris, this is what I don't understand. You were going to leave Twitter and then Time Warner gave you a cable deal?
Did I misspeak again? I was going to leave Comcast. And
Okay.
Is that how Twitter
I
makes
don't
money
know.
now? They make deals with companies?
well, that's the problem. Twitter still doesn't know how to make money.
I was going to say, was that a joke there? Twitter making money? What? Well, interesting. Interesting. I just personally think that this has all sorts of complaints written all over it, and it'll be the next big thing that you'll see on every single media website ever.
Like MySpace?
That's true. That's
I was
true.
going to go to Friendster and talk about it, actually.
Friends?
I'm bringing back my GeoCities page. Thank you.
Yeah, good luck with that.
GeoCities. Oh my God.
Well, going from one interesting thing to another, SP, what do you got to talk about with virgins today?
That's right. Every day, what I do is I provide a wayward home for virgins. I bring them in, we sit down, we talk about things, and then I show them the way to become non-virgins. And it is a hands-on experience. So yeah, that's what, no, that's not what happens at all. Okay, so what we're really talking about here is not virgins as in the human form. We're talking about Virgin Galactic. And yes, remember that the VSS Enterprise took an unfortunate nosedive from a very high altitude, right? That was in 2014. Well, on February 19th, Virgin Galactic rolled out their next VSS, and they named it Unity. Stephen Hawking was there, and Richard Branson and Virgin Galactic and Stephen Hawking just rolled it out. Now, it's got to go through a lot of testing phase. And the day before, Virgin Galactic put out a big, huge press release. And they went into, look, we're going to test this. First of all, we're going to learn, and we're going to make this the best thing that we can make it. We're going to incrementally advance the technology. And if we reach a bug, we're going to stop and we're going to fix it. And if we don't, we're just going to go in little tiny steps. So don't expect a flight into space tomorrow. But hey, look, they got a new ship. They're testing it out, and they're still on tap to go into space for space tourism. About $250,000 a piece.
So little baby steps, incremental steps, testing out things, trying new things. I'm not seeing the difference between Virgin Galactic and Virgins. I'm not seeing it.
Well, sometimes. Steven. The birds and the bees actually just go and do everything that they have to do in one shot, and they don't just do the baby steps. But in this case, they are going to do baby steps because space is risky. They understand that. They brought in a lot of professional test pilots, some people from NASA talking about safety and test programs and everything. So they really do have an international professional team working here, and they really want to do it right. So, and they really don't want another accident, because I'm not sure financially if they could recover from it or not, because these things aren't cheap.
Right.
So we will see what happens. And they didn't really give a date on when the next time it was going to be in the air, but they did say it was going to do a capture carry test. They were going to, first of all, taxi it around, just make sure everything worked on the ground. Then they were going to do capture carry tests with Spaceship Two. Then they were going to do glider drops from Spaceship Two. Then they were going to incrementally increase the flights. So this is happening. I know a lot of people are focusing on Virgin Galactic because at $250,000, it is achievable for a lot of people. Not for me, but it's achievable for a lot of people out there. And so a lot of people are interested, and they talk about the altitudes too. So let's just review here. When can somebody become an astronaut? Do you guys know those altitudes at all, by the way?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think it's about 35, 40 feet.
Right. So 50 miles or 80 kilometers is when NASA and the U.S. Air Force requirements, and this is altitude, are met for official astronaut status. And this stems way back to the late 50s and the early 60s when they were doing all those tests. But the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale recognizes you as a bona fide space traveler at an altitude of 62 miles. So there will be definite stages increased from one to the other. And this technology won't be able to go into orbit, but that would be the next step. If you actually went into orbit and went around the Earth like 3 times, like John Glenn did, right? And that was an actual orbit. I believe Yuri Gagarin orbited, but for the life of me right now, I cannot remember how many orbits he did on his first space flight. But our first space flight, yeah.
So this is something that some people are very afraid of, and I don't know all the data about this, but do they still quarantine astronauts when they return to Earth?
Well, if they go to another planet, they would, like the moon. So we haven't quarantined anybody since they came back from the International Space Station.
So, but so anybody that steps foot into space, real space, do they still quarantine them on return to Earth?
To my knowledge, no, they don't. But okay. I'll look that up for you. Like if they do a spacewalk outside of the I don't know.
Or if the shuttle, or if they're in their shuttle, because space-borne mutated pathogens are probably going to start becoming a problem.
Right. And there's this, I can't remember this specific article, but I did read something that had been out for a while that said that Mars was producing methane, and that might have been an indicator of life. And this was a couple years ago, but it resurfaced on some article that I was reading or whatever. And if that is true, if you go to Mars, you would definitely have to be quarantined. Although the trip is so long there and back that whatever is going to hit you is probably going to hit you on the way back. Yeah.
And you need to bring some gas X with you too, right?
Right.
What I mean is they've done a lot of tests on microbes and viruses and stuff like that. I don't know if viruses they have, but on bacteria and stuff like that. And this is documented. I mean, NASA does it, and it's shown that viruses. I don't show those viruses, but I think it's pathogens. Pretty much, they mutate extremely fast in space.
Well, they can, especially if they're subjected to cosmic radiation, which happens. It's not a fictitious thing. Stuff is radiated all the time, just even from our old sun. We're just sheltered from it by the radiation belts because of the iron core that we've got that's rotating at the center of our planet. So yeah, that's true. But another thing to kind of bolster what you're saying, JS, is as we are coring more and more into the ice, or the ice is melting at the polar caps or whatever, we're finding stuff that is coming out of there that is capable of being alive. So you're talking early viruses, early pathogens, early bacteria and that sort of stuff. And we're not quite sure what that's going to do to life on this planet as it comes out. Now, it could be that it was from an Earth that was so old that it's just incompatible with life now. So it's no big deal. But it could be that it exploits a huge weakness that we haven't been able to develop an immunity to or a response to, either us, monkeys, dogs, some sort of life on Earth. And it is a concern as the planet's geology or the climate is changing. What is this really going to do for the long term? So the same thing applies if you go to another planet that has had life on it before.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
I hope. I guess it depends on if they actually reach space and stuff like that, but. I mean, space tourism might become a problem, a health problem.
I would think that long before that you would get there, that you would have actually sent colonists somewhere and that you have experienced that sort of stuff. Now, we did the same thing, when Europe came over to North America. We ran into diseases both ways. Now, as it turned out, the Europeans were more hardier than the Native Americans, but the same thing applies. What if the Native Americans had developed more immunities than the Europeans? It would have been vice versa.
Let's not talk about diseases and Native Americans and Canadian history. Let's just get off that subject. JS knows what I'm talking about. Blankets.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a dark time in our past, but let's move on to the next section here in the news, which is the final news point, which is I think SP's legally not allowed to talk about this, if I remember correctly. I believe that this is classified information that he's forbidden from talking about. So, JS, what do we got going on here for the final news point tonight?
Well, because we're such on a theme of space and conspiracies, I guess, it would seem that they've found lost tapes of the Apollo 10 space mission, where when the astronauts passed behind the moon, so the dark side of the moon, there is technically a gap between communications. When a space vessel or ship, I guess, passes behind the moon, it can no longer communicate with Earth. Again, I don't understand why they just can't place a satellite next to it and just rebound it, but whatever. I guess that costs a lot of money. But anyways, to get back to the story, it would seem that Apollo 10 heard strange music while they were behind the moon during their space mission in 1969. They didn't talk about it. They found tapes of the recording inside the capsule, stuff that was, I guess, shelved once they did a data dump when they returned to Earth, but it was shelved and nobody ever talked about it for for obvious reason, because back in the days, astronauts, if they started talking about hearing music when they were behind the moon, they would think they were nuts and they would ground them, I guess. But it would turn out that they heard some strange space-type music from behind the moon.
Tell me, JS, were they hearing all along the watchtower?
They were not. And they were not hearing any Pink Floyd. They were not hearing Dark Side of the Moon.
That would mean we're Cylons. I'd be so excited.
No, I mean, there's been theories, like there's some people that say, they heard the same thing when they flew next to Jupiter, and then they said, well, when you're next to Jupiter, it's due to the magnetic interference. And then some people pointed out, well, there's no magnetic interference or magnetosphere around the moon, since the moon is pretty much dead. So there's all types of theories. There's also theories that it was bouncing between the capsule and some other random something that was in space. So there's no real explanation at this time. NASA hasn't released any explanation. Multiple people have their own explanation. Some other astronauts are also saying that, they've all experienced weird things with going into space. And I mean, let's be honest, you're going to space, so a lot of things are going to be weird, and they're not going to all be extraterrestrials. They're just going to be things we don't understand yet. But it's pretty cool that they actually heard what kind of sounds like music.
No, I agree. I played this clip and I meant to load it today, but as a half-assed producer, I did not load it. So go to GonnaGeek.com, click on episode 134, and
Steven, that's not what happened. The director of SNASA came in and pulled it off of your computer so you couldn't play it.
That's true, but we weren't going to talk about that because SP said that he would leave the podcast if I talked about that.
I didn't want to let you take the hit for it, man. It wasn't your fault. It was the director's fault. There's no reason you should be to blame for it.
That's true. But no, seriously, though, maybe seriously, I forgot to do it. And here's the thing. If you go to GonnaGeek.com, click on episode 134, and I'll put a link in the show notes to it, because it is some weird sound. Like there's a little YouTube video.
It's not music.
No, it's not music. It's a sound, but it's still an interesting sound when you think about like how audio transmitter and technology breaks down. The thing that they're getting this weird sort of sound around the other side of the moon where it's a dark side. I don't know. It's just bizarre. Like it's weird to me. Like I'm going to guess it's some form of weird echo or something like that, but really neat. Really, really neat. SP, do you got anything that you want to talk about here?
Yeah, we could talk about why this sort of stuff happened. We were talking about cosmic radiation before. There's a bunch of cosmic background sounds that are out there. As a matter of fact, that's one of the satellites or the space telescopes that we haven't talked about yet. So we'll get to that and what exactly this background information could be that the astronauts heard on their radios.
Yeah, so let's translate that now for the audience. What that means is SP will return next week when he has an officially mandated excuse for what this is, when they have come up with a sound, quote unquote sound, logically sound, there we go, that's what I'm trying to say, logically sound excuse for what it is, i.e. when they've made up some BS. So that's what's going to happen.
If you really want to get into this, there is legitimate science behind this, including radio telescopes and the Big Bang Theory and us peering as far back as we can and that sort of stuff. And like I said, we'll get to that in the space telescopes later. But yes, the same sounds were heard by radio telescopes here on Earth a long time ago.
I feel bad for you. SP, I really do feel bad for you. I don't know how you walk around with all of this stuff swept under your rugs. I don't get it.
Gets messy.
It does. But you do know what's going to happen. Instead of coming back next week with a response, it's going to be more, this entire portion of the podcast will be redacted after you post it. SNASA is going to come in and just cut it out. And we're going to be like, what happened? We talked about moon noises.
No, that's not what happens. NSA does that stuff for us.
I see.
All right,
here.
that's going to go ahead and wrap us up for this week's GonnaGeek. No, I'm just kidding. But very good news point, JS. And I love that you sent this over. So thank you very much for that. I'm
awesome.
excited to hear more about this and other stuff like this. So let's go ahead and move on to our final segment, which is Geek Back. Shall we do that?
Why don't we?
All righty. Alrighty, so for your Geek Back this week, your 100% not redacted Geek Back, we asked a simple question. We asked the question of, there is a lot of talk about backing up in the cloud recently. Do you back up to the cloud? If so, what do you back up and what services do you use? We had a few different responses. The first one coming via Facebook from Michelle Ely, who said, I use OneDrive. I pay for Microsoft Online Office service, and it comes with a cloud service. We'll talk about that more in a minute, Michelle. Then we had Neil say, we use Backblaze. We had Anthony Bachman say, I use Dropbox to back up all final pieces of artwork that I've done digitally just to have an additional copy outside of my external hard drives. We did post a Twitter poll asking a few different of the mainstream options, including Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, and then we gave the other category. We had a whopping 67% of the vote said Dropbox, and 33% said Google Drive, so nobody voted for OneDrive. And then finally, we had the one and only, may he rest in peace, Suncast, say all of the above.
May he rest in peace. That sounds ominous.
I'm just kidding, Suncast. You know that we love you. But yes, we had a variety of people say a bunch of different things, which is quite honestly why I asked the question, because I've been going through a cloud service migration lately, and I've heard a lot of people talking about cloud services, and I think part of it is because there has been some changes in recent with some of the cloud options out there. Let's go around the table here and talk a little bit about everything. And I'll toss it to you first, Chris, because I know you had a couple of answers as well.
Right. So I'd shared the question that you asked on Facebook, and some of my Facebook friends got a hold of me and let me know what they're using. So first, our good friend Jeannie over from Tyrion's Landing and said, I should, but I do not do backups. I have a home server they are on. That's it. So she's not a cloud user, but I guess maybe a local cloud might be the best way to look at it. I don't know. One of my college buddies, Bob Peters, says he uses CrashPlan or Carbonite. I've actually looked into Carbonite myself in the past. And then a podcasting buddy of mine, Brian Tudor, says Dropbox, Box, and Google Drive are all solutions that he uses.
And what do you use?
What do I use? So it's a combination of a few different things, depending on what it is. For all of my photos and stuff, those are all backed up on Amazon because I get that for free with Amazon Prime. They're also backed up on Flickr. For all of my local content, I have an external hard drive that I do a backup image copy to every month or so. And then I use Acronis TrueImage to do an incremental cloud backup every once a week. It scans my hard drive, finds everything that's different, then uploads it to my Acronis account, which is unlimited storage space and it's encrypted, and you're able to restore individual files from it. So that's my current solution, and it's worked pretty well for me. And thank goodness it's unlimited, because the way we keep knocking out podcasts and video stuff, I'm racking up a bunch of storage, guys.
Oh, I hear you on that. JS, what do you got going on for your backup solutions?
Google Drive and Dropbox. We looked at Carbonite, but it's a bit pricey. It's actually
That's
very
what I
pricey.
thought too. I thought it was fairly pricey.
We also started backup at the office that we're looking into doing for our customers. It's at a competitive price, but it offers, we have, in a nutshell, what we do is to be competitive with other companies. We offer so what we do is we put a server that kind of clones their server live. So if ever their server crashes, they can like virtually just instantaneously switch. And at the same time, it's remotely backed up.
That's pretty cool.
Service. Yeah.
That's awesome. SP, what do you got?
So I got a response from Keir Hansen, who is the producer of In Defense Of and also on Gallifrey Public Radio on the GonnaGeek Network. And he said he uses a Dropbox for all the episodes of IDO. And then he was using a service called Copy as a redundancy. But they're apparently pulling the plug on that service in the next few months. So that will go away for him. So I just want to say thank you very much, Keir, for letting us know that. And for me, I use a complicated myriad sort of stuff. First of all, I use SyncBack Free to go to a local USB external hard drive, and I back up all my important stuff there. And I also, about once a year, maybe twice a year, I actually take a physical copy to the lake home. So it is there if something ever happens in this house, I have a geographically separated version of the information. And then just locally, about every other month, I'll clone a drive and I'll have that available to go in case that needs to happen. And I use CloneZilla to do that. I'm not sure if there's a better way to do that or not, but that's how I do it. And I just make sure that everything's backed up both on the computer, on the hard drives, because there are actually multiple hard drives in there. Because as Chris said, you start doing podcasting, video podcasting, that stuff adds up really quick. And then I use the USB external hard drive as really a daily backup. And then I have the one that there's another one in the house that I pull off about once a month. And I make sure that everything, just in case that, what was that thing that Cody ran into? I forget what it's called.
CryptoLocker.
Oh, that's
CryptoLocker. In case that happens, I'll be able to use the backup hard drive, the clone hard drive, and the backup data and go for it. And my old podcast rig is still active in the house. So I could, in an emergency, boot that sucker up and grip it and rip it with that one.
So for myself, I've been using up until now Google Drive for a lot of my important photos and things like that. And I haven't really had an offline backup solution for the podcast stuff. However, recently I've decided that as a Canadian citizen with a terrible dollar, Google Drive is just too expensive. I have to get the terabyte because as SP mentioned, things add up very quickly, especially when you're podcasting. And the Google Drive is $9.99 a month US. Canadian, that works out to be about $15 a month. So that adds up pretty quick. Now, I discovered recently that, believe it or not, OneDrive is one of the better deals available right now. OneDrive, if you buy Office 365, the home version, it's $99 or it's $10 less if you look at some of the wholesale retailers, i.e. the wholesale big box locations that might rhyme with Moscow, or Bosco if you want. But it's $89. And here's the thing. It gives you five users have access to Office 365 plus 5 tablets, and they each get 1 terabyte of OneDrive storage. That's an incredible deal, especially when you factor in that that's Canadian dollars too. So very interesting, and it works perfectly for my setup because my wife has a chunk of data with her phone that I want to have separated, and then I can go and I can set up a podcast user so that all of my podcast stuff is there, and then just home photos. So that's kind of where I'm transitioning to. Internally, though, I do similar to SP. I run a Windows Home server, which does a sort of daily backup, which I need to make a few changes to, but overall it covers most of it. And then every now and then I do a major clone-ish of my computer because of the fear of CryptoLocker. Because in theory, your online storage is probably safe with CryptoLocker, but I'm not going to chance it. So I'd rather have something physically disconnected. And in a worst case scenario, I'm a few months behind. Oh, well, it's better than losing it all. So
yep.
Very good conversations from all. And if you would like to tell us what you use, please let us know. You can give us a call at 567-343-GEEK. That's 567-343-4335. You can tweet us at GonnaGeek, or you can find us at facebook.com/GonnaGeek. So that is going to take us towards the end of tonight's show. Before we do wrap up, we'll go around the table, give people a chance to promote whatever you want to promote. I'm going to start off by doing a little more self-serving. You can definitely find the latest better podcasting episodes on the GonnaGeek network. And why am I highlighting this? Because as an aspiring podcaster that I know you are, you probably want to get yourself an Audio-Technica ATR 2100 microphone, and SP and I are giving that away. It is not a sponsored contest by Audio-Technica. It is something that I think a lot of us here have on this very podcast here have used the ATR 2100 or the Big Brother AT 2005, and is a great microphone. So absolutely, please check out the latest Better Podcastings to find out how you can enter that contest that's running till the end of February 2016. Chris, what do you got to promote or talk about?
So if you're a convention goer, quick heads up, the GonnaGeek group of us will be at C2E2 on March 18th, and at 2:45 p.m. we have a little conference room booked so that we can do a panel on podcasting and things like that. So if you're going to be in the Chicagoland area for C2E2, come check us out Friday at 2:45 p.m.
Awesome. SP, what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about not only the C2E2 convention, but we talked about it last week. GonnaGeekers are going to be at a lot of conventions. I will, what I have right now, I'll put in an article and I'll post it on the forum at GonnaGeek.com, or not the forum, but the website at GonnaGeek.com. So you can see all the places that you can run into GonnaGeekers throughout the year, at least as it stands right now. And if things change, I will update it and push it back out.
Awesome. And JS, what do you got?
I want to talk about a new game that's coming out in March 3rd. It's called Black Desert Online. It's something I think I'm going to be jumping in with a couple of friends from around the world. So if you guys are interested in playing some Black Desert Online, send me a message and we'll try to all get on the same server.
What do you play? You play PC gaming, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it's PC gaming.
Is it?
I haven't
Okay.
touched a console in a while. I mean, my Wii U is still in the box.
Gets a lot of use, huh?
That's funny. That's funny. And before I do get to the music part, I do want to remind you all that we are part of the GonnaGeek network, and you can check out the latest In Defense Of, which is another member of the GonnaGeek network, episode 17 called My Ears, My Choice. And in that episode, the crew look at the nature of music preferences, where they originate, and if/when to respectfully recommend new music. So an interesting take, especially as somebody who used to do a music-oriented podcast. A very interesting episode. So that, though, is finally taking us to that favorite part. The part where we rock out and you cry as you watch us dance on the YouTube side of things. Remember, we are here every week on Monday at 8:45 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. So for episode 134, my name's Stephen John Drew.
I'm going to be redacted by SNASA.
And don't forget, tomorrow night at geeks.live is GameLifeBalance.us. I'm the director of SNASA.
And I'm the guy you fade in and out of.
Bye!
From everyone here at the GonnaGeek.com podcast, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes. We encourage you to send your feedback by email to podcast@GonnaGeek.com. You can find all of our show history at GonnaGeek.com/official podcast. And while you're there, why not head over and check out all of the geeky podcasts on the GonnaGeek network? The music heard on this show is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next week.